Go ahead.
We're with Pat MacKrell, New York Business Development. Pat, you were the keynote speaker at Where Wall Street Meets Main Street, talking to a bunch of lenders and secondary market investors about the secondary market. Tell us, what was the main message that you wanted to give to this group? Why do we care what CDCs do and alternate lending allocations?
Well, I think, Bob, and first of all, thank you for having me. But our real focus was to take this group, the people that are very entrepreneurial, they're very involved in small business, to make them stop and think about actually what's going on and how they can work to develop alternatives. Maybe there's not a solution that they can provide, but is there another solution in the community? Is it the CDC, the community? Is it a community loan plan? Some other aspect they can do to promote the small business, and it's opportunities for success.
Nice. Now, community-based lenders, you're now a 7A lender. You have an amazing track record, very low loss ratio. How'd you pull that off?
Well, it's not something that you pull off like a chainsaw. Unfortunately, it's something that you build like Legos. You build a strong credit shop, creative and expansive underwriters. You get a great board and loan committees that sort of help you through the process. And more, you just stay close to the small business. You do site visits, you talk to them, you go out, and make sure when there's a ripple on the pond that you know what's causing it and whether it's going to turn into a wave. And you pay attention to the basics. That's what it's all about. And you don't make as much money that way because you spend money to pay attention. But in the end, it's much more valuable to pursue.
Pat, this is a secondary market conference. We're talking about secondary market. You don't use the secondary market on your 7A loans. Tell us about it.
Well, we've been very fortunate, and largely that relates to the second question you asked, which was how do we manage the loss rate? As a result of that, we're able to attract capital from 120 banks in New York, all of which have a focus on small business lending, all of which appreciate our role to develop and perhaps be slightly more expansive than they can be, either because of their own credit policies or their perception of what the regulators want. The reality is we get that support. We get the support from New York State Common Retirement Fund, all of which have a real understanding that you have to start somewhere.
It's nice to have 120 lending partners. That's a lot of
lenders. It's nice to have 120 lending partners.
Last question, Pat. You started your organization as a commitment to get access to capital for minorities and women in New York. Found that fascinating. Finish the story.
That's one of the goals. As I said, in 1955, our legislature in New York, fairly forward-thinking, made that one of the keystones of our mission. It's something that we take very seriously. 35% of our loans in New York are minority women-owned businesses. You can always do more, and we don't necessarily, we don't focus exclusively on that, but we develop and make, by being expansive, by being creative, you allow access. You are inclusive in your loan programs, and then you are, just by definition, by nature, by being inclusive, you provide greater opportunity.
Well, it's nice to see over 60 years the progression to where you have that same desire and passion for everything. Pat, thank you very much.
Bob, thanks for having me. Take care.